Somewhat recently, I was having a conversation with my friends, and someone said, in order for a person to feel happy and fulfilled, they just need hobbies. And I thought about this, and I wanted to research if this is true. Do hobbies really bring fulfillment into people's lives, or do people need something deeper? Are hobbies even necessary if people have something deeper? Well, to start, the research indeed shows that hobbies improve well being, and they can improve depression and anxiety. But this is largely referring to hedonic well being, which is mostly concerned with pleasure, feeling good, and reducing stress in the moment. This is what, in my opinion, video games are best for. They're good tools for reducing stress and promoting short term happiness, but when we take them too seriously and make them too large a portion of our lives, they can become harmful. The other type of well being is eudaimonic well being. This is a psychological term for well being that incorporates personal growth, fulfillment, and meaning. What this term represents is clearly a different type of well being. This well being often does not involve happiness or pleasure because happiness and pleasure do not necessarily equate to fulfillment. A study from 2025 found that effortful leisure, which is the idea of putting effort into your hobbies and leisure activities, actually leads to greater fulfillment up to a certain point. So every activity, at least from your hobbies, has the potential to become fulfilling if you put more effort into it, but it is up to you to recognize when this fulfillment has reached its peak. The key here, though, is that fulfillment is not exactly connected to happiness or enjoyment, according to the study. People may enjoy an activity like gaming when it is both high effort and low effort, but problems arise when it fails to fulfill or provide a purpose. For example, if a video game begins to make you angry or tired or stressed, then I would argue it's no longer fulfilling and your gaming habits should be adjusted. So yes, we have to decide when hobbies are no longer fulfilling, but this study shows that it's more about personal meaning than feeling happy. You can play a solo story game for hours and never once feel happy, but you may feel fulfillment in completing the story and all the quests. You can also play a random game for 30 minutes and feel really happy and relaxed while also feeling no fulfillment from the game other than a slight mood boost. The point is, fulfillment does not necessarily require happiness. And to be clear, feeling happy and feeling fulfilled are both needed at times. A study from 2012 on hedonic and eudaimonic well-being found that both types can and do lead to flourishing. So we do need both a little bit of happiness and pleasure and a little bit of meaning and purpose to flourish, right? And of course, there needs to be a balance, and it's a little more complicated to decide that for each individual person. But again, the deeper fulfillment of eudaimonic well-being is not necessarily correlated with happiness, which is why this distinction in types of well-being even exists in the first place. So what's the verdict here? Are hobbies enough? Well, the answer is not so simple. Hobbies can provide short-term hedonic well-being and even in some cases a deeper sense of fulfillment. But even then, hobbies still cannot always lead you to your greater purpose in life, the thing that goes beyond you, the thing you keep working towards no matter how hard life gets. So the conclusion can be that the type of hobby is ultimately what matters. If the hobby is video games, yes, it will make you happy and reduce stress, but it's incomplete. If the hobby is writing books for other people to become aware of an issue you value, then that is something closer to deeper fulfillment. Deeper fulfillment can also come from faith, among other things. And at that point, the line between hobbies and necessary parts of one's life becomes blurred. What is important is not to neglect the search for purpose. And this search, in this case, can come from hobbies. This is why many times I say to try and let yourself be bored more often. Boredom can be used to find your meaning and purpose, even through a hobby. Boredom, I believe, is not best filled with distractions. Boredom is a chance to search for something deeper, to really relax and reflect. And this purpose to search for doesn't have to start out with something grand or life-altering. It can start with something as simple as, I want to help with X problem. Once you start with this, you will start working on it and learning from it. And your perception of it will certainly evolve over time as you learn and grow. But that only means your fulfillment will keep growing as well. Of course, this is all just a suggestion from my personal experience and from the research I presented. But what cannot hurt is being aware of what purpose hobbies fulfill and how they may or may not connect to your deepest purpose in life. and how they may or may not guide you to that purpose. And that's what you should think about with hobbies, rather than thinking that the hobbies themselves will always solve the problems. In many cases, hobbies can eventually evolve into the purpose or lead you to the purpose, but the hobby itself is what you need to ultimately think about. And many times we think we have found our deepest purpose in life, but it is often just a shadow or immature version of a future purpose we will discover. And of course, as a young person myself, I'm always discovering this every day. What's important is always staying humble, always wanting to learn more, and trying not to distract ourselves from the life we have created in front of us. And as always, stay mindful.